These are the troubles I have to go to try and keep the seagulls off the boat. I have put ropes forwards, backwards. I've got my pole there, my spinnaker pole swinging on the bottom of my boom to try and sideswipe any of them that land on the top. Because I'm not kidding you, they come up here, they eat the crabs, they try and make the nest, they make an absolute mess of the place. And it takes me half an hour or so to put all this on when I've finished with the boat, and half an hour or so to get it all off again. Even have a fender swinging over the solar panel. Probably reduces the charge, but certainly gives them a good whack in the head when they're not looking. Right, well, it's bank holiday weekend. Glad to have you with me. I know it doesn't look very nice today, and that's my brother creeping along the other side of the pontoon there. We're going to set off and we're going to go round Anglesey. We're going anti-clockwise round, and our first night stop should be Porthwen, commonly known round here as the Brickworks, because it's got an old brickworks in it. Well, I'm having to motor out, and again, as usual, it's grey and there's a bit of a chop, but not much of a chop, so we'll get out quite quickly. This feels a bit deja vu from last week, but it's a different day, I can assure you, and there's less wind, so it's actually easier sailing. But because we're not in a rush, I've got reefed sails up, boat sailing upright. I'm almost spilling wind out there because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. This Raymarine still won't play ball. I've had a look into a few other things with it, and it gives me about 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe tops of screen time, and then locks me out. And then you can't do anything. I think I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing. I'm only doing 3 knots over the ground. I'll sort myself out, fall off the wind a little bit, and the speed's up, so I'm getting nearer towards 5 knots. There you go. So that makes me happy. And the water's flying past now. My brother, he's just a little bit behind me as he's getting himself together at the moment, but I'm sure he's going to catch me up because I'm not screaming along, as you can see. I'm just making my way through the water gently without having to bury me gunnels. Still, I am very close hauled, and I have got reduced sails for keeping the riding comfort good, because we ain't racing. I even get a little bit of backwind in that mainsail every now and then. I'm that close. But it don't look that close there, 40 degrees apparent. You racing boats would be much closer than that, I know, but I'm getting a decent performance over the ground, and that's keeping me happy. Well, sitting here watching the water flowing by, and the boat's fairly comfortable and solid at the moment. The skies are very grey. That's typical, I would imagine, for a bank holiday. I've decided to let me reefs out and let the boat go now. Just noticed that, a halyard could do with the tug, but I don't think I'll bother doing it because my brother's back there, and if you can just see him, don't want him catching me up. Not that we're racing at all. It's just that we need to be able to get to where we're going. I'm quite sure the wind has dropped. The speed is up. So let's try and keep it that way. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Swallow seems to be sailing really well this year. Her sails fall into a nice shape. Boat jumps into a lovely groove, and she seems to be off quite well. There seems to be ships just about everywhere out here. They're not moving. Well, he's got his anchor up, but he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. They're not moving, and because my Raymarine is pants at the moment, I've got no AIS overlay on anything, so I don't know whether they are or they aren't. I'm just looking at chains through the binoculars to see who's sitting still. But it leaves me pushing the boat really hard to windward to get past the bow on these things because the tide's riding towards them. I've not changed my course since passing that last boat's bow, and if I look back at my track, the track has slipped across the bow of the boat, and I am tight on the wind, as you can see, so I couldn't have made any better course. But there you go, my wake has slipped into the boat now, so I'm not really making the leeway, it's the tide moving. The land you can see up there, that's Linus Point. That's the corner we've got to go round in order to get to Porthwen. The wind normally bends round the land and keeps you sailing, although that we're tight to it now. So when we go around the corner, we'll probably find we've got a similar-ish sort of tack. And as I'm only towards about 40 degrees apparent, I could take another 10 off if I had to. And here we are heading at the corner. I've got tide lift here as well, because the tide always speeds up towards this corner. And with the lighter airs, the sea's flattened out quite well. My brother seems to have caught me up, and he looks like he's going to sail round the outside of me. Well, we don't want that, do we? Has he gone round the outside because there's more movement of tide? Ooh, tactics, eh? Not that we're racing, of course. Well, I've put my sails down as we're going to motor in now to Porthwen, where we're going to stop for the night. The little dot you can see coming on the left of the screen now, that's called Middlemouse. It's one of the lumps of land that hang off the northern side of Anglesey. And that's my brother just there, that little dot. His sails down. And here I am on the anchorage in Porthwen. It's quite a safe little anchorage, and it's mud. And I like mud because it doesn't let your anchor go. And that is the old brickworks. And I've got a lovely picture of that I'll show you, that I took in the dead of night. I'll show you at the end. It's a cracker. Looks like a painting because it was done in the dark. There's my brother. And up on the hill, round there, there's a greenhouse. A real greenhouse. No glass in it. If you want to visit the brickworks, you've got to hike over land to get there, or you've got to come by sea, because I don't think there's any roads coming down here. Well, as evening falls, we get another visitor. This is Steve from Boat Shed in Porthwelly, and RJ's over there in his boat. Well, it was a good night, and I was woke up to lovely sunshine in the morning, and we all loved that. And when I had a little look around, the day felt very inspiring, like it's going to be a good day. I can feel it in my bones. The sun is everywhere, and there's a little bit of wind on the back of my neck, so let's hope that we get a bit of sailing in. There's Jay there after a lovely night's sleep. Is he up yet? I don't know. And Steve's still round there, and I don't know if he's up yet either. But I know someone who is up. Hello, Mr. Sunshine. Wow, there's even a couple out having a swim. My temperature gauge for the water says 11.5. They're brave people, they are. And look what the solar panel's doing. It's whacking in 4.5 amps in the morning. That's that sunshine, whacking it in off the panel. Steve sent his drone up. Took a nice picture of Swallow there with a backdrop. The 3 boats with a nice backdrop. And just for the people who want to see the brickworks, a nice aerial shot of the brickworks as well. Well, time to get the anchors up. And hopefully the sails up. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll find a little bit of wind out there somewhere. All 3 boats seem to be going the same direction anyway. So we'll be able to sail with each other for a little bit. I think I must be the keenest to go. I seem to be the only one who slipped at the moment, although I think Jay's starting to come round the back of Steve. It's very rocky out here for sure. This could be like a Jurassic coast. It's not, but it could be. I get a little bit of wind and start sailing. I haven't got past the mouse yet, but we're moving. And we got wind in the sails. That's pretty damn good. But I talked too quickly because it went as soon as it arrived. And the motor had to go on. So it looks like it's going to be a bit of a motor. It's a nice day for a motor. I didn't even get past Middlemouse under sail. So we see how far we motor before the wind comes back in. But we'll hope that the wind does come back in, and I'm sure we'll get something somewhere. I'm a bit of a diehard. I'm even a diehard with this thing. Look, it's stopped again. Every year it only does a couple of days and it packs in. It's just like the wind today. That seems to have packed in as well. Look at that needle. Doesn't know where to point and where to go. And that thing's packed in I think everything's packing in. The old GPS there from Garmin still slogging away and doing its job. After all, it might have a couple of lines on the display, but it's still working, isn't it? We ain't in a rush. We're pushing tide a little bit towards Carmel Head, but we're taking back eddies, so we won't be going too slow, because there's a lot of tide a couple of 100 yards further out from us, and we've only got the engine, well, on a fast idle really, about 1700. If Lisa could see the mess I've got the boat in down here, she'd have a fit, I'm sure. I don't suppose it's that untidy. The north part of Anglesey, well, it's littered with things for your eyeballs to look at, when you're not looking at your sails drooping, that is. The land itself is just coves and rocks and little beaches. There's just plenty to see continuously, and because it's fast moving waters, you can move along quite quickly even when you're not expecting it, so you've got to have your wits about you. Wilver Power Station makes a good landmark. Furlong Buoy, I always call it Harry Furlong's Buoy, but I don't know why. But I've seen the waves going from the buoy all the way to land, overfall like waves. Not very pretty when you're heading towards them. That's the Skerries hiding in the background, and that's Eastmouse just in front of it. And that looks like it's going to be the corner called Carmel Head. And just as you're passing round here, you can get overfalls which can be quite serious, but because there's no wind this morning and we're just towards the edge of it, well, there's a little bit of a lump in the water, just showing you how angry it could be, if it wanted to be angry, of course. But it doesn't today. It's quite a happy water. Well, as luck would have it, there's wind around that corner, and that'll do us fine. So motor off, sails up. We're pointing into it to make our course, but we're making more or less our course, which should make me very happy indeed. If we can carry this, it will be nice. Just look at that behind me. Someone's gunning for me. I think that might be just Steve on Foxglove coming to get me. Jay's over there miles away, so he can't get me. Looks like somebody's getting a little bit closer. Well, Steve gets close enough to take a decent photograph of me and sent it to me, and this is what it looks like. I certainly do carry plenty of fenders on the stern. Well, he's carrying plenty away, and he slips along past me, but before he disappears, he pops another shot off and sends me that one as well. And then I just have to watch him sail off into the distance, I'm afraid. And this, don't forget, is still light air sailing, and I think Swallow's going quite well. Obviously not as well as Foxglove, but quite well. Tide's fairly neutral at the moment, and we're making a bit of that wind, so we've probably got under 10 knots of actual wind, and Swallow's going into it at 4.5 knots, and I think that's quite decent. And maybe even a little bit more when I'm lucky. Holding my course as tight as I can, I pass a fishing boat, but this is as close as I can go to them because that's as close as I can upwind. Then I pass a West Cardinal, on the west of course, and I'm heading there for the stacks. Well, as you look against the land there, you can just see the harbour wall. It's a massive wall, and the ship's hiding behind it. Sometimes those ships come out just as you want to pass. But looks like we've got a lucky run today. Timings are pretty good. Anyway, we've got all day to make this journey because we've got to wait a tide out at the other end. So I'm not really in any rush whatsoever. I think about 2.5, 3 knots could make this quite happy. Weather's warmed up too as well. So it looks like it's going to be a smashing day. Maybe even a hot day, dare I say it. Looks like Jay's gone and lost the wind, and it looks like Steve's gone and lost the wind too, and then I go and lose it as well. So it's a motor past the stacks, but once past, light air's come back, and that'll do me. I'll sail light airs all day long. Tide's pushing me along quite quickly at this moment as well. We haven't got 1,000,000 miles to run, probably about 12 or 13 miles, so we've got about 4 hours to do it. No rush there then. That works out at about, I don't know, 3 knots. We're heading down to Llandudno Island, so we can stop there, have our tea, and then when the tide starts coming back in the Menai Straits, take it into the Menai Straits and stop at Abermenai. Or at least that's the plan. Speeds up and down here quite a lot. You guessed it, then the wind goes. So I put the donkey back on. It's like bin bags out there, just look at that water. And just as it's pretty flat, we start getting a draft up the chuff, so I turn the engine back off and we're making a good 2.5, 3 knots, which I think will get us there in no time. But as it's tea time now, it looks like I'll do my cooking while I'm sailing. So I don't think I'll make our anchorage for tea time, I'll just have it on the go. The last few hours have been just popping along the 2.5, 3 knots, but it's dragging me all the way down here, and if I don't have to put the donkey on, then I won't bother with it, and I've not got that far to go. My dinner's about ready, so I shall put it out, and while I'm trickling along at the last couple of knots, I'll scoff this curry down. And I just get washed up in time to get to the anchorage. But before I can go round the back of those rocks there, where you can see those masts, and there's a couple of outlying rocks just there and there, there's a boy, a safe water boy there, and I need to go around him and in behind him so that I don't hit anything that I shouldn't hit. Well, as I'm making on the buoy, I can see the anchorage come into view, and the beaches and the people playing round, and to my surprise, there's not many boats in the anchorage at all on such a lovely day. I think tonight there's a possibility of a bit of wind building and a bit of poor weather. Wet weather, when I say poor weather, I don't think stormy or anything like that. So that's why we've chosen to go round to Abermenai for the night. So I stopped there with Foxglove and Tara 3 for a couple of hours. Well, actually, it was about an hour and 10 minutes. Had a little relax and, dunked a few biscuits, enjoyed a cup of tea, watching the sun go down. And then it's about time the flood started, so really we should be making our way back in to Carnarvon. Just look at that for a mill pond. That is literally no wind at all. I mean, there's hardly any movement on that water whatsoever. But you can see that miserable weather that's supposed to be coming in tonight looks like it's there on the starboard side already. It's very gloomy looking. You can almost see an edge base to the cloud. And then in the distance behind me, it goes back to nice weather. But that'll all be pushed out the way as the night goes along, I'm sure. So, good idea to be where we want to be. This is Bell and Narrows. You fly through here. Tide's flying through. It's like a Venturi. It closes up, and in the gap in the middle, you go like Billy-O. You can see just how restrictive it is on the chart there. It really narrows the water down to a small gap. But just around the corner, there's a lovely anchorage. And once you're in it, you're in even calmer water. There was odd couple of boats in there, which there's normally an odd couple of boats in here. But the next morning, it wasn't like that. It wasn't sunny, it wasn't nice. You didn't want to go outside. Everything was wet, miserable and grey. All that rain from the night had come in. And the heavens are still open. But as luck would have it, when our time was right to make our departure, it stopped for a bit, and it allowed us to motor on down the river all the way down to the marina, with the aid, of course, of Mr. Current. I mean, look at him. He's going like nobody's business. Well, after a night in the marina there, we set off on a nicer, sunnier day on our final leg around the island. And we've got a nice breeze that pushes us all the way home today, so it looks like it's just going to be a Genoa day. It's a force 3 to 5, which means it's probably going to be around a 3 all the way down to the Swellies. It'll drop down to a 1 in the Swellies, and then when we get to about Beaumaris, we'll get about the 5. This is my small chart plotter from outside. I've taken the big one out. I haven't quite put it in the bin as yet, but I've put the little one in its place for now, and it looks absolutely tiny. Absolutely tiny, and a great big hole for a great big chart plotter. But at least it works. Me and my bro got about the same amount of sail out, and we're making about the same pace through the water. So I think our boats are quite evenly matched. Although there is definitely a lot sleeker, and when push comes to shove, I'm sure it'll shove and push a little bit better. But I don't think the Swallow from last year would have kept up with the Swallow from this year. So I'm quite happy that my brother's boat's fairly well matched with mine, because that means the Swallow's doing really well. Well, we get down to the Swellies about an hour early. I'd say about an hour on the dot, actually, because I was watching the clock and I thought to myself, it looks like we're going to go under that bridge 1 hour exactly before slack water occurs, which will give us, on the other side, a bit of a shove up the backside from the tide, which should carry us up to at least Bangor Pier, and maybe if we're really, really lucky, Gallows Point. It's beautiful, this place. Little old boat yards, and there's quite a few of them knocking round, and there's plenty of other things for the eyeballs to look at as well, so it's quite a feast to take in as the Straits. Here comes a big boat just behind me, going past me. Seems a shame, doesn't it, to be motoring in such a lovely boat when you've got all that breeze behind you, enough to make your helicopter go on the back. Well, we'll continue to use ours as sailing boats, I think, today, because of this breeze is beautiful. We're cutting across the Swatch now, which are the sands in between Anglesey and Llanfyddechan, and then that should put us fairly close to the buoyage system in Conway, or, well, Pemamar then Conway, and we're back home again. So it all happens very quickly, and we seem to have sailed with each other most of the way under the same sort of conditions and sail, not really getting apart from each other. Now, I know he's got a good quick hull underneath him, but what surprised me is Swallow's now keeping up with boats, and that's new for me. I need a really good passage, a long one, to actually make sure that my passage pace has picked up, and then I'll really know if the boat's a different boat or not. She definitely feels better anyway. It's been a lovely run, all the way from Carnarvon, all the way down to Conway. We've not had to do anything at all really to the sails, except for when we've changed slightly directions, just let it flick from one side of the boat to the other as the foresail jibes. But a foresail jibe's an easy thing to do, it's not like the boom. Even into Conway. We're right at the end of the voyage here, just about to make our way into the river, and she's still slipping along lovely under just as you know her. That'll be the entrance to Conway Marina there, just behind Jay's mast. And our moorings are just down there, further down the river. Well, that was a pretty cool round the island. So it's goodbye from Steve on Foxglove. It's goodbye from Jay on Tara 3. And just before I sign off, I wanted to show you my lovely night shot of the brickworks. Bon voyage, everyone.